The Adventures of the Happy Flying Dwarves. Don't cry over spilled flour. Written by Jody Bazak. Illustrated by Eliza Liao. Meet the Flying Dwarf's family. Father. Father Dwarf is a very hard worker. He is always hurrying to work unless the dwarf family is on vacation. Father is devoted to his family and delights his children with wonderful stories. Mother. Mother Dwarf is a cheerful, hard worker. She is empathic and has a talent for finding the right words to make her little dwarfs feel happy. At bedtime, she squeezes the children's hats to save any happiness leftovers for days when they are sad. Mama always thinks about the future. Tom. Tom tries to be like his father, but he is so clumsy that he battles to work as hard as father. Tom is sensitive and notices how the other dwarves feel. Wendy. Wendy is kind and caring. She is devoted to taking care of the dwarf family's pets. Sarah. Sarah isn't able to speak yet, but she always finds creative ways to communicate with the other dwarves. She is very independent and can look after herself. Butterfly. The butterfly always watches over the dwarf family and makes sure that they are safe and happy. The butterfly has a magical property. He can become invisible whenever he wants. Worm. The worm is the dwarf's pet. She has to be careful and watch what she eats, because sugar will cause her to melt. Luckily, Wendy always takes care of her. Once upon a time, far, far away, a family of flying dwarfs lived deep in a forest. They wore feathered hats that had magical properties. Every time the dwarfs laughed, the feathers on their hats became shiny and lifted into the air. And the dwarves floated into the air too. They could do anything they wanted without any effort. But when the dwarves were sad, they floated back down to the ground, and the feathers on their hats went limp and lost their shine. It was late in the afternoon, and the weather was fine. Mother Dwarf had just finished taking the laundry off the line. Phew, she sighed as she wiped her brow in the heat. She waved goodbye to Father as he left for work, hurrying on his feet. Suddenly, Mama noticed a colorful butterfly that had just landed on the line. She smiled and whispered to him, "Tomorrow will be Father Dwarf's birthday. When I was a little girl, my mother always used to bake me a birthday cake. Today, it is my turn to bake a cake for Father. I need to put the little dwarfs to bed in a hurry so that I can go bake a cake. What a flurry! You're welcome to join me in the kitchen while I bake. When they're in bed, I'll make a cake," Mama giggled merrily. Immediately her shiny feathers lifted, and she felt herself rise into the air. She picked up her washing basket and began to sing cheerfully. "Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Father Dwarf. Happy birthday to you." Mama went into the kitchen and put a large sack of flour on the counter. She took down an enormous recipe book. "Let's see which cake I should prepare." Meanwhile, in the living room, the dwarf children heard their mother's voice. Tom had just learned to fly his toy helicopter. Wendy and Sarah were busy styling their doll's hair. Mother Dwarf walked into the living room where the children were playing. "Hurry, children! It's time to bathe and get ready for bed. I'll be waiting for you in the bathroom." The children were so busy playing with their toys that they did not hear Mama. Suddenly, Tom lost control of his helicopter and it flew straight into the kitchen. Crash! The three children ran into the kitchen in a terrible fright. The helicopter had crashed into the sack of flour. What a sight! There was flour everywhere. At first, they tried to clear it up and run, but they discovered that playing with flour was a lot more fun. They forgot all about Mama waiting for them in the bathroom. Mama had filled the bath with bubbles and rubber ducklings. She looked at her watch, surprised that the children hadn't come yet. At this rate, there will not be enough time to bake Father's birthday cake, she whispered to her butterfly friend. She left the water running and went in search of the children. As Mama was walking to the kitchen, she could hear the children chuckling. She forgot all about the bath water and the duckling. She peered through the keyhole and thought, "Oh no!" The kitchen and all her little dwarfs were as white as snow. Mama slumped against the door, feeling hopeless. How should I react? Mother Dwarf was sad and at first didn't act. She thought about how she should react. Suddenly, she realized she was being watched by someone, her butterfly friend, whom she had met outside in the sun. She had invited him over to help her bake, as she made Father a beautiful birthday cake. He tried to tell her something. He seemed very upset. Suddenly she understood what he was trying to tell her and ran to the bathroom. Mama Dwarf took a deep breath, put a smile on her face, and began to hum the song. She went into the kitchen and pretended she did not see the flour everywhere. She pressed play on the stereo to play the happy song. She pushed up her sleeves and picked up a broom. The children looked at each other in surprise. They were waiting for their mother's response, but none came. Quickly and efficiently, she managed to sweep up most of the flour. Suddenly, Tom asked, "Mama, may I help you?" He began to clean the kitchen counter. After the initial shock, the children were infected by the happy atmosphere and helped Mama clean up the floor. All their shiny feathers began to rise, and they all gently floated into the air. They were so excited by the wonderful feeling. After the house was cleaned and the children had bathed, they were ready for bed. All the dwarf children climbed under their sheets. As Mother Dwarf was about to switch off the light, Wendy asked, "Mama, can you clean my ear? I think there's some leftover flour in it." "Yes, come here," said Mama. "I'll get it out in less than a minute." "Mama, will we have a surprise cake for Father's birthday?" Mama smiled and didn't show any dismay. "But there's no more flour with which to bake." "Oh no!" the little dwarfs groaned in disappointment. "No cake!" Mama looked on them in pity. Beside each bed, she had laid out their beautiful clothes for the next day. Mother Dwarf said goodnight, but Wendy and Sarah were already asleep. Tom was still awake. He was counting imaginary sheep jumping over a cake to try to fall asleep. Bah! Bah! Mama was in the kitchen. She had just finished washing the floor. As she wiped sweat from her brow, she thought to herself, "What can I do? How can I bake a cake when I do not have flour? And how can we celebrate Father's birthday without a surprise cake? And I'm so tired from all this cleaning. But at least I have 3 children who are sleeping peacefully." Then she heard a knocking on the kitchen door. "Oh no!" she cried with woe. "Father is home, and there will be no cake for his birthday tomorrow." Mama opened the door, but she could not see Father anywhere. She looked to her left, but nobody was there. She looked to her right, but nobody was there either. Suddenly she saw it was her butterfly friend, not Father. At that moment, Tom arrived at the kitchen door with a sad look on his face. "Can I help you, Mama?" "Thank you, but I'm already finished." "I'm exhausted," said Mama. "I'm so sorry, Mama. I did not mean to upset you." "Tom, I understand that you want Father to be happy. You mustn't cry over spilled flour." Mother Dwarf gave Tom a hug. "The most important thing is for Father to have a happy birthday, even if there is no cake. If we are happy, then he will be happy. That is why I decided to not be upset." Tom noticed the butterfly, who had landed on a large sack of rice. "Look at the butterfly, Mama. Maybe you can use the rice to bake a cake." "Tom, you are a genius," said Mama. "Now, Tom, back to bed. Maybe tomorrow will be a new day full of surprises." Tom thought of the hug from Mama and his brilliant idea. Then he fell asleep. Father was surprised the next day with a beautiful birthday cake. Only Mama and Tom knew the secret, that Mama had used rice to bake. The dwarf family was so happy that their shiny feathers lifted into the air. They floated about the ground without a worry or a care. Tom forgot all about the crash with his toy helicopter as they celebrated Father's birthday with much laughter.